Ford and Mercury 4.2 liter engine, cam sensor, and synchronizer replacement. I'm Brian Essick from How To Automotive. I'm going to walk you through the process of replacing that. So on this engine, we're going to get started by removing the electrical connector for the cam sensor by squeezing the little tab and pulling it off. And then after that, we're going to remove the bolt here that holds this coolant pipe on. And you're going to put a coolant bucket underneath and to catch the coolant, and we're going to pull the hose, the coolant pipe out, and so all the coolant's going to drain out of the water pump here. And then after we get the pipe out of our way, right here we're going to remove there's a screw here and a screw here. We're going to remove those and remove the crank sensor, or cam sensor, I'm sorry. Also on this coolant pipe, if you follow it back, trace it back, and just on the back side of the power steering pump, there's another little ear bracket, kind of like this one here, that has the same thing, another little 8mm bolt that's holding it on. So on the back side of the power steering pump here, so the camera back there, you're going to remove that little bracket right there on there, and that'll help release the pipe, so you can lift the pipe out of the water pump. So after getting those coolant pipes out, what I'm going to do now is come over here to my OTC Ford cam tool master set here. I'm going to take the new part, and I'm going to find the correct synchronizer here, adapting tool here. So on mine, it has it's a 4.2 liter engine. So when I went to go find the right synchronizer for it, it has on the cap, this is an OTC product, it has the engine size labeled and stuff, and the one that was labeled for this engine was definitely not the right. So it has this half moon looking thing, and mine has a little small hash mark here, and it definitely wasn't going to work. It was the wrong one for the year, make, model. So I actually had to call up OTC and cross-reference the factory tool that was recommended for it. I found that information through AllData, and they cross-referenced the proper one for me. So what you need to do is just determine which. That's your job, is to determine which model you're working on and what synchronizer you need. And you can find that information through AllData, Mitchell on Demand, even online, and maybe even your parts supplier. So once you determine which synchronizer is the right synchronizer for your car and the proper alignment tool, what I'm going to do next is right here on this on the new part here, you can see this little it has this little circle, kind of like a little freeze plug looking thing. So I'm going to make it I'm going to imagine a line right down the center of that. So what I'm going to do is on the old part here, so you can see the half circle right here, I'm going to make an actual scribe mark in the kind of like in the dirt, and make that line up right there. So I'm going to just scratch the dirt a little bit, and scratch the dirt on the old cam sensor or synchronizer. So what I'm going to do is right where that little circle mark is right here, is I'm going to make a little scribe mark on the block, right where that is, a little reference mark like that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the proper alignment tool, and I'm going to put it over the synchronizer here, and line up the little window on it like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly crank the engine to line it up with top dead center, and when you get it in the right position, this tool will drop down fully and seat all the way down on it. So when the tool is fully seated and lined up, it'll look just like that. And if it's off center at all, it'll have a gap. So now that I rotated the crank and the synchronizer tool has dropped all the way in, I'm going to remove the 10mm bolt here and washer and remove it completely. Okay, so now that the hold down bolt is removed, what I'm going to do is put my hand in here, see if I can do this where you guys can see too. So I'm going to grab the synchronizer, but don't grab the tool, just grab it below and lift, and you're going to want to twist on it because it has a little worm gear on it. So you're going to lift and keep lifting until it's free from the gear, and then kind of note about where that little circle mark is, so when you put the new one in, you'll kind of put it back in the same way, and as you rotate it back in, it'll drop back down and line up with your little scribe mark. So now that you kind of keep note of that little hash, that little circle there, which way it goes. Now you can go ahead and pull this completely out of the car. So when I went to go take mine off, you know, it was hitting the hoses, so I went ahead and removed the hoses a little further so I can lift it up a little higher, and then I went to go take it out, and it's hitting it right there on the corner of the power steering pump. So depending on what model make, you may or may not have to do some of this stuff. Some of them are a little more depending on what vehicle, the 4.2 liter engine that you're doing this in. This is pretty much the same also for the 3.8, the 4.0, and the 5.0 engines. You know, the same kind of concept. So you may have to take off different brackets and different hoses to gain access and to remove your synchronizer. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and remove the belt and just take the 4 bolts off the power steering pump and kind of lay it out of the way. I'm not going to disconnect any hoses or anything, and then see if I can get this out of the book. Didn't call for any of this stuff. I don't know if something's bent or tweaked on this particular model or car or something that's causing this problem, but the solution for me is to remove the power steering pump. When I was pulling the synchronizer out, the oil pump rod came out with it. So what I did was just put a pair of vice grips on there just below where it was mounted in here, and so what I'm going to attempt to do is when I put my new one back in, I'm gonna start this rod into the synchronizer first. So I'm pop it in there, and then I'm going to lower it down and try to line up this rod with the oil pump below. And you kind of have to do it by feel. So right now, when I go to put the new one in, I'm going to leave the tool off until I get so I can spin it to help line up everything. And then once I get it lined up, then I'll lift it up just a little bit and put the tool on, and then rotate it into the position where I want it. These are kind of like little snags and snafus that weren't planned, you know, when it came in, like having to remove the power steering pump out a little bit. All I did was actually take some of the bolts out and just maneuver it a 1/4 inch, and I had that gave me enough clearance. You guys are going to run across stuff like this all the time when you're working on cars. You know, stuff doesn't go as planned, or you have to remove more than what the books will tell you, and also you'll find that the labor times are way off sometimes. In this particular case, this is one of those jobs where the labor time was not even in the ballpark. So now I left my vice grips on there, and I pushed the rod up into the new synchronizer. Now what I'm going to do is just remove my vice grips like this and lower the whole rod, like I said, and I'll kind of twist this a little bit so you feel it line up into the pump below, and then so as long as you keep everything kind of straight going in, it should line right up. So if you don't get that rod lined up, it won't drop down inside there like this. So once you got it lined up, you know, you're able to drop it down in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out, and I'm just spin the cam here until my little indicator here is in there, and I'll put the tool back on until it seats back on there first, and then what I'll do is I'll rotate it. So my alignment tool is back onto the new part, and I kind of rotated it back towards the angle how I took it out, and I'll rotate it and I'll drop it in until it fully seats. And as you can see, my slash mark is over here, and my little circle is kind of off center, so it's not right. So what I'm going to do is pull it back out and then rotate it closer towards the way basically one tooth. I'll rotate it down, so now it's close, but it's not quite on there. So I'll pull it back out and rotate it one tooth further, and I'll keep doing that. So it looks like I went one tooth too far, so I'll just rotate it until I get it right, until my alignment mark lines back up with the mark that I made before I took it apart. Once you get it back on there and lined up, then you can go ahead and put your mounting bolt back on and tighten it down. And once that's tight, then you can go ahead and remove your cam tool, alignment tool, and then at that point you can go ahead and put on your new cam sensor and tighten that up, and then you can go ahead and whatever you took apart, the coolant hoses, or if you had to take off the pump like I did, go ahead and reassemble all that, put your belt back on if you had to do that. And on the coolant pipe, I definitely recommend you change the O-ring here and put a new one on there. And once you get all that back together, the last step would be to clear the codes, and that would complete the cam sensor and synchronizer on a Ford Mercury 4.2 liter engine. It's pretty much going to be the same concept for the 3-liter engine, the 3.8. I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos. I encourage you to subscribe.